The 1-4-second video that sent Chiefs Kingdom into panic. No one expected a simple walk into training camp to become the biggest NFL talking point of the week, but that's exactly what happened when the Kansas City Chiefs released a short 1-4-second clip of Patrick Mahomes arriving at camp. Within minutes, millions of fans weren't talking about football. They weren't discussing new plays or championship expectations. Instead, they were staring at one thing and one thing only: his left leg. What looked like an ordinary training camp arrival suddenly exploded across social media. Fans slowed the footage down frame by frame. Others zoomed in on screenshots, comparing both legs side by side. Some insisted Mahomes' left calf looked noticeably smaller than the right, while others claimed his stride appeared different from previous seasons. The speculation spread faster than anyone inside the Chiefs organization could have anticipated. Then came the questions that every Kansas City fan feared hearing. Was this simply the normal appearance of an athlete recovering from major knee surgery? Or were these the first visible warning signs that the face of the franchise still wasn't fully back? The concern wasn't coming out of nowhere. Everyone remembered how Mahomes' season had ended. The devastating ACL injury didn't just sideline one of the league's greatest quarterbacks, it instantly changed the outlook for an entire franchise. For months, Chiefs Kingdom had waited patiently, hoping the offseason would erase every doubt. But one viral video reopened every fear they thought had been left behind. The internet quickly divided into two camps. One side believed people were overreacting to an awkward camera angle, arguing that judging an athlete's recovery from a few seconds of walking was simply unfair. The other side wasn't convinced. They pointed to what they believed was visible muscle loss, suggesting that rehabilitation from a serious knee injury can often leave lingering physical changes even after a player returns to practice. As the debate intensified, NFL analysts, former players, and countless fans joined the conversation. Suddenly, a routine training camp post had become one of the most discussed NFL stories of the offseason, and perhaps the biggest concern wasn't whether Mahomes could throw the football, it was whether he could still move like Patrick Mahomes. Because throughout his career, it has never been just his arm that made him special. It has been his ability to escape pressure, extend impossible plays, throw off platform, and create magic after everything breaks down. If even a small percentage of that mobility had disappeared, the ripple effect could change everything about Kansas City's championship aspirations. But while social media was busy dissecting every frame of that 1-4-second clip, something else was already happening behind the scene. Another video was about to surface, one that would completely change the conversation. Before we get to that, let me know where you're watching from today. If you believe Patrick Mahomes will return stronger than ever this season, come on. If you think the Chiefs should be extra cautious before rushing him back, come on, dude. And if you enjoy in-depth NFL stories with the latest news, drama, and analysis, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. The throw that changed everything. Just as concern over Patrick Mahomes' left leg reached its highest point, a second training camp video appeared and suddenly the entire conversation changed. This time, Mahomes wasn't simply walking into a building. He was moving inside the pocket, rolling toward his left, planting on the same leg fans had spent hours analyzing, and delivering a clean pass while still on the move. It was exactly the type of play people had been waiting to see. The movement wasn't reckless or dramatic, but it looked controlled. Mahomes shifted his weight, trusted the injured leg, and released the football without appearing hesitant. For Chiefs fans, who had feared the worst after the arrival video, those few seconds felt like a massive relief. The quarterback they remembered, the improviser who could turn a collapsing pocket into a highlight, was beginning to look familiar again. But one successful rep could not erase every concern. Training camp is controlled. Quarterbacks are protected. Defenders are not allowed to finish plays the same way they would during a regular season game. There was no 300-pound pass rusher crashing into Mahomes from the blind side. No desperate third and long. And no playoff pressure, forcing him to make a split-second decision. Still, the clip mattered because rehabilitation is built on trust. A surgically repaired knee can test an athlete mentally as much as physically. The body may be medically cleared, but the player still has to believe the leg will hold when instinct takes over. Mahomes' willingness to plant and throw suggested that confidence was returning. Then more footage surfaced. He moved through quarterback drills without appearing restricted. His release remained quick. His arm strength looked normal. He joked with teammates and carried himself like a player preparing to lead, not someone simply trying to survive practice. That contrast created the real mystery of Chiefs camp. One camera angle made his recovery look frightening. Another made him look almost completely normal. And the truth was probably somewhere between those two extremes. Kansas City did not need Mahomes to look perfect in July. It needed him to progress without setbacks, rebuild confidence in his movement, and gradually rediscover the instincts that made him the most dangerous quarterback in football. The next viral video would reveal something even more important. The Chiefs had not built their quarterback room around blind optimism. They had prepared for every possible outcome, the quarterback room nobody expected. When the Kansas City Chiefs posted footage of their quarterbacks throwing together, the video quickly passed 2 million views. That number was remarkable because this was not a playoff comeback, a Super Bowl celebration, or a dramatic game-winning drive. It was a routine training camp session in St. Joseph, Missouri. But nothing about that quarterback room felt routine. Patrick Mahomes stood at the center of the story. Yet fans immediately noticed the players surrounding him. Justin Fields, Garrett Nussmeier, and Chris Oladokun represented 3 different forms of insurance for a franchise facing uncertainty at the most important position in football. Fields was the biggest surprise. He was not an inexperienced backup, brought in merely to hold a clipboard. He had started dozens of NFL games, faced hostile stadiums, survived coaching changes, and produced explosive plays with both his arm and legs. Kansas City's decision to acquire him sent a clear message. The organization believed Mahomes would recover, but it refused to leave the season unprotected. Fields also offered something most backup quarterbacks could not, a mobility-based skill set that could keep parts of the Chiefs' offense alive if Mahomes needed additional time. The system would still change, but Kansas City would not be forced to abandon movement, quarterback runs, or off-schedule playmaking completely. Behind Fields, the competition became even more personal. Nussmeier entered camp as a developmental prospect with the pressure of proving he belonged in an NFL quarterback room. Oladokun carried a very different story. Once viewed as a practice squad afterthought, he had already experienced the chaos of being elevated when injuries changed the depth chart. Every rep now carried the possibility of extending his career. 4 quarterbacks, 4 different paths. One enormous question: how many of them would Kansas City actually need? If Mahomes returned at full strength, Fields would become one of the league's most intriguing backups, while the younger quarterbacks battled for a developmental role. But if Mahomes experienced soreness, hesitation, or any setback, every practice rep taken by Fields would suddenly become more important. That was why the video spread so quickly. Fans were not simply watching men throw football. They were watching Kansas City prepare for uncertainty in real time. And soon, Reid would finally explain how much work Mahomes was actually cleared to handle. Reid breaks his silence. As social media continued analyzing Patrick Mahomes' walk, calf, stride, and throwing motion, attention eventually turned toward the one person capable of calming the entire conversation: Reid. The Chiefs head coach did not avoid the questions. He told reporters that Mahomes was doing extremely well in rehabilitation and had been cleared to participate in the different periods Kansas City planned to run during camp. That detail mattered. Reid was not describing a quarterback limited to individual drills or carefully separated from the team. He was describing a player trusted to take part in the structure of practice. But Reid also emphasized that the process would be monitored daily. Coaches, trainers, and medical personnel would continue evaluating Mahomes as his workload increased. To some fans, that sounded like a hidden warning. To the organization, it was standard responsibility. A franchise quarterback recovering from major knee surgery was always going to receive more attention than everyone else on the field. The real distinction was between medical clearance and football readiness. Medical clearance meant the knee had met the necessary strength, stability, and movement standards. Football readiness meant Mahomes could escape pressure, absorb contact, change direction unexpectedly, and trust the leg when a carefully designed play broke down. Those two things were connected, but they were not identical. Reid understood that better than anyone. His offense depended on Mahomes creating outside structure. Kansas City could design quicker throws and emphasize protection, but eventually the quarterback would face a moment no practice script could predict. That was why the coaching staff needed patience. The Chiefs could not allow outside pressure to control the timeline. Viral videos, fan panic, fantasy football debates, and Super Bowl expectations could not determine how many repetitions Mahomes took. Every increase in workload had to be based on what the quarterback's body showed the following morning. Reid's calm response suggested Kansas City did not believe it was facing an emergency. At the same time, His words confirmed the process was still active. Mahomes had made remarkable progress, but the organization had not stopped watching. Then Mahomes addressed reporters himself, and instead of sounding cautious, nervous, or uncertain, he delivered the strongest message of his recovery so far. Mahomes sends a warning to the league. Patrick Mahomes did not speak like a quarterback trying to hide a setback. He told reporters that he felt stronger than ever in terms of lifting and physical strength. He described himself as feeling amazing and focused on the excitement of playing football again. His tone was relaxed, confident, and noticeably different from the nervous energy surrounding him online. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Fans were zooming in on individual frames, searching for signs of weakness. Mahomes was discussing strength, preparation, and the freedom to return to the game he loved. He even joked when another camera angle made his body appear larger than it had in previous footage. That humor mattered. An athlete deeply worried about his own recovery narrative often becomes guarded. Mahomes did the opposite. He joined the joke and refused to let a collection of awkward images define his condition. He also addressed the possibility of wearing a knee brace. Mahomes explained that he had experience using one and felt comfortable with it, but suggested there was no strict medical order forcing him to wear it permanently. That indicated the decision was connected to comfort and preparation rather than fear. Still, confidence alone would not answer every football question. Mahomes had always played with a rare type of controlled chaos. He escaped clean pockets, threw from unusual platforms, changed arm angles, and trusted himself to create after the original design failed. Returning from an ACL injury could challenge that style because hesitation of even half a second can destroy an improvised play. The Chiefs therefore faced a delicate balance. They needed Mahomes to remain Mahomes, but they did not need him proving his toughness during meaningless summer practices. Every unnecessary scramble created risk. Every reckless cut could test the knee before the games mattered. The smartest version of his comeback would not involve eliminating creativity. It would involve choosing when to use it. Mahomes' public confidence also affected the rest of the roster. Players could see their leader practicing, laughing, and setting the tone. That energy prevented uncertainty from controlling the locker room, but another viral moment soon shifted attention away from rehabilitation and towards something far more personal. The Las Vegas Raiders had decided to mock Kansas City's quarterback. Mahomes' response was short, calm, and far more threatening than an emotional outburst. The Raiders poked the bear. The rivalry between the Kansas City Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders did not need another reason to become personal, but training camp provided one anyway. During an autograph session, a fan brought a Kermit the Frog doll dressed to resemble Patrick Mahomes. Raiders rookie Trey Taylor placed the doll on his hand, played along with the joke, and laughed as cameras captured the moment. It was brief. It was childish. It was exactly the kind of content social media rewards. Within hours, the video spread across NFL timelines. Raiders fans treated it as harmless rivalry humor. Chiefs fans viewed it as disrespect toward a quarterback who had spent years dominating the AFC West. The moment became even more charged because the tension between the two franchises had never fully disappeared. Kansas City still remembered the humiliation of a painful Christmas Day defeat. Travis Kelce had openly discussed how badly the loss affected the team. Raiders supporters had no intention of letting the Chiefs forget it. Mahomes eventually saw the video after a long day at camp. When reporters asked whether Kansas City planned to respond, he did not deliver an angry speech. He did not insult the rookie or create a public argument. He simply said it would get handled when it got handled. That sentence immediately became more powerful than the original joke. Mahomes understood that retaliation through words would only give Las Vegas more attention. The meaningful response would come when the teams met on the field. Every touchdown, third down conversion, and divisional victory would carry more weight than anything said during training camp. The moment also revealed how quickly harmless humor can become motivational material in the NFL. Players insist they ignore outside noise, yet locker rooms remember everything. Screenshots get saved, quotes get repeated, videos appear in team meetings before rivalry games. Kansas City did not need additional motivation, but the Raiders had provided it for Mahomes. The situation offered another test of leadership. He could not allow personal emotion to distract from rehabilitation or preparation. His responsibility was bigger than winning an online exchange. He had to guide a team trying to recover from disappointment and reestablish its identity. While fans debated the Kermit video, a far more meaningful story was developing on the Chiefs' practice field. A rookie receiver who once controlled Mahomes in a video game was now catching touchdowns from him in real life. The rookie living his childhood dream. For rookie wide receiver Cyrus Allen, Kansas City Chiefs training camp felt almost impossible to process. Only a few years earlier, Allen had used Patrick Mahomes while playing Madden. The Chiefs were his favorite team, and Mahomes was the superstar quarterback he watched from a distance. Now Allen was standing inside the same huddle, learning the offense and trying to earn the trust of the player he once controlled with a joystick. Then came the rep that changed his camp. During red zone work, Mahomes surveyed the defense and delivered a pass toward the back of the end zone. Allen elevated between two defenders, secured the football, and completed one of the most memorable catches of the early practices. For fans, it was another exciting highlight. For Allen, it was proof that the dream had become a real competition. A rookie receiver does not earn a roster spot because of one spectacular catch. He earns it through route precision, timing, blocking, special teams value, and the ability to avoid repeated mistakes. Allen understood that professional football operated faster than college. Every step in a route had to match the quarterback's progression. Arriving late by a fraction of a second could turn an open target into an interception. The presence of Mahomes increased that pressure. Great quarterbacks demand receivers understand not only the design play but also what happens when the play changes. Mahomes might escape the pocket, redirect la route, or release the ball from an angle no practice diagram could predict. A young receiver had to read those moments instantly. Allen was also competing against players with their own survival stories. Nico Remigio and Jalen Royals wanted the same opportunities. Jimmy Holiday had spent time on the practice squad and understood how quickly a career could disappear. The battle for the fourth receiver role was therefore about more than statistics. It was about trust. Could Mahomes look toward Allen during an important third down and believe the rookie would be in the correct place? Could the coaching staff use him on special teams? Could he remain composed after a mistake? His red zone catch supplied a powerful opening statement, but camp would continue testing him. And Allen was not the only player fighting for a future in Kansas City, away from the viral videos. Several careers were being decided one practice rep at a time. The battles nobody sees. Training camp coverage naturally follows the biggest names. Cameras track Patrick Mahomes. Reporters surround Travis Kelce. Every statement from Andy Reid becomes a headline. But on the edges of the practice field, players with far less security are fighting to keep their NFL careers alive. Jimmy Holiday entered camp carrying the frustration and experience of a year spent near the bottom of the roster. He had shown flashes before, but flashes were no longer enough. Every route had to demonstrate growth. Every red zone opportunity had to become evidence that he deserved more than another temporary practice squad role. When Holiday caught an impressive touchdown during practice, it created a brief moment of recognition, yet he understood that coaches would study everything surrounding the catch. The release from the line, the route depth, the timing, and whether he executed the assignment correctly. Running back Emmett Johnson faced a different challenge. Modern NFL backs must offer more than rushing ability. They need to catch passes, protect the quarterback, recognize pressure, and contribute on special teams. Johnson stayed after practice working with the jugs machine, catching ball after ball while other players moved toward the locker room. That work would never generate the same attention as a Mahomes highlight, but it could determine whether Johnson made the team. On defense, young players experienced the most difficult education possible, facing Mahomes before they were fully comfortable inside the system. Rookie corner Mansour Delane described the quarterback as being exactly as advertised. That simple statement carried the exhaustion of someone discovering how quickly Mahomes recognizes mistakes. One poor angle could become a touchdown. One moment of hesitation could leave a receiver uncovered. Every rep against an elite quarterback exposed weaknesses immediately. Some young players were also managing their own physical limitations. A non-contact jersey might seem insignificant to fans, but for a rookie trying to earn trust, every restricted practice represented lost evaluation time. These hidden battles gave Chiefs camp its real emotional weight. Mahomes' recovery could shape the franchise's championship ceiling, but roster decisions would reshape individual lives. Some players would leave camp with contracts, opportunities, and a future. Others would receive a phone call ending everything they had worked toward. That pressure required discipline throughout the organization. And one returning coach had already begun changing the standard inside Kansas City's building. Eric Bieniemy changes the temperature. Before the full intensity of training camp had even arrived, one name kept appearing in conversations throughout the Chiefs' locker room: Eric Bieniemy. His return brought more than another offensive voice. It brought a familiar standard built on detail, accountability, and relentless energy. Mahomes laughed while warning teammates that they had not truly experienced Bieniemy yet. The most difficult moments would arrive when exhaustion set in, concentration disappeared, and players began searching for shortcuts. That was exactly when Bieniemy became most demanding. Mahomes described the energy inside meeting rooms as different. Bieniemy's confidence forced players to focus on the smallest details. His presence made even experienced professionals feel ready to run through a wall. The younger players felt it immediately. Emma Johnson and Cyrus Allen understood that Bieniemy would push them aggressively, but they also recognized the purpose behind it. The coach wanted the best from them. His criticism was not personal. It was connected to a standard Kansas City believed had slipped. Last season's disappointment remained inside the building. Chris Jones admitted the team was not accustomed to finishing so early, missing the playoffs, and failing to control the AFC West. For a franchise conditioned to playing deep into January, the sudden ending felt almost unnatural. That failure created fuel. Reid noticed stronger attendance during voluntary offseason work. Veterans were not waiting for coaches to demand change. They were telling teammates that the previous season could not be repeated. Reid also wanted leadership to extend beyond Mahomes, Kelce, and Jones. Kansas City could not depend on 3 stars to maintain the culture every day. Accountability had to spread through position room, special teams, and the bottom of the roster. Bieniemy's return fit that mission perfectly. His role was not simply to redesign plays, it was to make complacency uncomfortable. The Chiefs had spent years being praised, feared, and treated like the standard of the conference. Eventually, success can create small habits that become dangerous. Missed details, poor execution, and the assumption that talent will rescue everything. Bieniemy attacked those habits directly. By the end of the first major stretch of camp, the story surrounding Kansas City had grown far beyond Mahomes' knee. It had become a story about preparation, competition, humiliation, and response. The viral videos showed promise. The rookies supplied hope, the rivalry supplied anger, Bieniemy supplied pressure, but none of it would matter unless Kansas City transformed summer energy into victories when the season began. The season will not be defined by a viral video. When the Kansas City Chiefs finally leave training camp behind, nobody will remember how many times Patrick Mahomes walked into the facility or how many camera angles fans analyzed on social media. The only question that will matter is whether Kansas City transformed one of its most challenging off-seasons into another championship-caliber campaign. Looking back at everything that unfolded throughout camp, one truth becomes clear. Every viral moment represented something bigger than itself. The first video exposed the fear that naturally follows a franchise quarterback recovering from a major injury. The rollout throw restored confidence. The quarterback room demonstrated that Kansas City prepared for every possible scenario instead of blindly assuming everything would go perfectly. The emergence of young receivers showed that the organization is already investing in the next generation of offensive weapons. Eric Bieniemy's return reinforced the demanding culture that helped build one of the NFL's modern dynasties. Even the rivalry with the Raiders reminded everyone that respect in professional football is earned every Sunday, not through social media. Strategically, the Chiefs' biggest objective is no longer proving that Mahomes can play football. It is making sure he can still play his brand of football when the games matter most. That means trusting his instincts without asking him to take unnecessary risks. It means protecting him with disciplined offensive line play, surrounding him with receivers capable of creating separation, and allowing the running game to reduce pressure whenever possible. If Kansas City accomplishes those goals, Mahomes won't need to force spectacular plays every week. Ironically, that balanced approach may allow his greatest moments to happen naturally. The roster competition we witnessed throughout camp also carries an important lesson. Championships are not built exclusively by superstars. They are built by backup quarterbacks preparing as if they will start, rookie receivers maximizing every opportunity, practice squad players refusing to quit, and coaches demanding excellence long before the regular season begins. The headlines belong to Mahomes, but championship teams are strengthened by dozens of players whose names rarely trend online. There is another lesson worth remembering. Social media rewards instant conclusions. Professional sports reward patience. A 14-second clip convinced thousands of people that something was seriously wrong. A second video convinced many that everything was suddenly perfect. The reality, as always, was far more complex. Recovery is a process, not a single moment. Great athletes rarely move in a perfectly straight line from injury to dominance. They improve through preparation, discipline, setbacks, adjustments, and confidence rebuilt one practice at a time. That perspective extends beyond football. Life often presents moments where fear spreads faster than fact. It is easy to judge someone by a single image, a single rumor, or a single difficult day. Real character is revealed by how people respond over time. Patrick Mahomes, his teammates, and the Chiefs organization chose preparation over panic, patience over emotion, and consistent work over dramatic reactions. Those qualities matter far beyond the football field. Now the spotlight shifts from training camp to the regular season. Every throw, every drive, every divisional matchup, and every playoff race will answer the questions that no viral clip ever could. Can Mahomes return to elite form? Can Kansas City reclaim its position among the NFL's most dominant teams? Can this new generation of young talent help extend another championship window? Only the games can provide those answers. Until then, thank you for watching. We'd love to hear your opinion. Where are you watching from today? If you believe the Chiefs are ready to make another Super Bowl run, comment 1 below. If you think Kansas City still has major questions to answer before becoming a true contender again, comment 2 and tell us why. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the latest NFL news, player storylines, and behind-the-scenes analysis, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss our next update. Your support helps us continue bringing you the biggest stories from around the NFL.